publisher and editor of the Oldish. A warm welcome back to those who have been with us before, and a big welcome to those of you who may be new with us. Stick with us. I think you'll enjoy our content. We're going to talk a little bit about the articles that we've published on the Oldish this week. In our Let's Talk About segment, we're going to talk about volunteerism. And we're going to look at news from around the world of the Oldish. So let's get started. We'll take these down off of the screen. There we go. So this week on the Oldish, as always, a whole bunch of fascinating articles. High blood pressure linked with dementia and Alzheimer's. So if you have high blood pressure, you might want to give a read to this article and think about lifestyle changes that can reduce your odds to lower the linkages with dementia and Alzheimer's. Solo seniors connect through social media. Now that's a really good article, but I do also want to bring your attention to the fact that we have also published articles about seniors who are by themselves and living in isolation, and the fact that isolation matters. And the best way to get those endorphins pumping is actually not through social media. It is through face-to-face contact. It is the number of times when you walk out your front door and go to the post office and have a chat as you pick up your mail, or go to the grocery store to buy your bread or your milk, have coffee in the coffee shop, whatever it is that you may do. However, it is better to connect on social media and have conversations that get your mind going and let you feel that you're interacting with human beings than to do nothing at all. So give this article a read if you are in that category, or perhaps you live in a place that has brutal winters and getting out and about is a little difficult for you. Incontinence is not a normal part of aging. Well, it's not. I think a lot of us just accept the fact that incontinence is something we're probably going to have to contend with at one time in our lives or another. I have a colleague who is an incontinence nurse specialist out on the West Coast who firmly believes that solving incontinence issues will also go a long way toward solving the problem of falling. So give that article a read, and maybe it'll change your mind about how you think about incontinence. Longevity is giving seniors a second crack at adolescence. How many times do you see some old bald guy driving down the street in a convertible and he's got a grin from ear to ear? There's a calculator tool that may help. This article, in fact, contains a link to several calculator tools. And as the article points out, probably the one that will be most surprising to you is the one that talks about your sodium intake. So salt. According to this aging calculator, I'm going to live to be 91. Well, I've got a flash for that calculator tool. I firmly intend to be alive and kicking and in good health way past 91. So anyway, they're interesting tools to take a look at. So do take a moment and read through that article on theoldish.com. In our Let's Talk About segment, we're going to talk about volunteering. If you have comments, I would encourage you to write them below this Facebook chat, and I will see them here. I am always interested in hearing what you think about the topics that we cover. The topic of volunteering came to me the other day when I was involved in a discussion in a volunteer group that I belong to. It's a closed group on Facebook. It's comprised largely of volunteers, but there are a few staff members of the organization that participate as well. One of the staff members made a post that essentially said, if volunteers don't do something this way, staff will force them to do A, B, and C. It doesn't really matter what the issue was. I took exception to the use of the word force, and I replied to that post saying that I thought the use of that word was too aggressive for volunteers that give of their time. Now, I was interested to see that the next morning the post had been taken down and reposted with different language. Message received. That's great, but it got me thinking in a larger context of how we treat one another, how we enable each other to continue with bad behavior sometimes because we're too afraid to call others on it. Now, I am a senior, but I am a mouthy senior, and it doesn't occur to me not to be very direct in terms of dealing with something that I disagree with. Most people aren't that way, and I can appreciate that. Um, but sometimes also organizations will shuffle off oversight. It's your problem to deal with. It's your problem to deal with. And so the problem never really gets solved. So this is pervasive in several volunteer organizations. But anyway, it got me thinking that seniors are also the largest population of volunteers that most communities have. They are also the most vulnerable. So it's really important to find a good fit, a really good fit. So that's why I want to talk about volunteering today, to just give a few points to our viewers and our readers about how you can find the very best fit for you. So, of course, we are devoted to our communities, and we want to see the best outcomes for our neighbors, our friends, our children, our seniors as they age. But not all programs for volunteers are created equal. And for seniors, there could be problems if they're choosing their volunteerism by using their heart and maybe not their head quite so much in the beginning. Volunteering is like a job in many ways, except that, of course, there's no monetary gain. There may be satisfaction. You may see joy on the faces of those whose lives are enriched, and you may find for yourself a really good use for those skills that you've spent a lifetime developing. Because it's a job, though, you need to make sure that the fit is good, that the culture of the organization suits your personality and your temperament, and that you can handle the team that you'll be working with. So in light of that, let's look at a few things you can do before you commit 100%. Take a look at the projects that the team has been involved with in the recent past. Were goals set? How were those goals achieved? In fact, were they achieved? Ask questions about how that happened and what might have been done better. There's always something that could have been done better. You know, if they're not analyzing their own processes, then they're not going to get better themselves. And eventually they're going to be behind the 8 ball instead of ahead of the curve. Take a look at projects that have been involved that require training. Is there training for the organization? Is it ongoing? That's my preference personally, but sometimes it's a brief orientation and off you go, and they never talk to you again. You're just sent off to do all of these wonderful things. And, you know, you constantly need to be evolving and growing as an organization, and the training needs to reflect that. Talk to other volunteers. See what keeps them coming back. See what they like. Ask them what could be done better. Ask them what gives them pause for concern and how those concerns are dealt with. In every single volunteer organization that I have ever been involved with in my entire life, there have been 1 or 2 volunteers that absolutely shine. There have been 1 or 2 that see the opportunity as an opportunity to create their own personal fiefdoms. There are always a large number of people, a large percentage, who toil away and they don't really expect any recognition. They do it for the love of the end product. And that's okay too. But there are also a few bad apples in every organization. How does the staff deal with those bad apples? If they treat everybody like they're bad apples, so in a negative way, that's not good. Like I said before, volunteering is a job. You just don't get paid. And like any job, the people in charge have to be prepared to fire the people who don't fit in. I don't look at firing so much as a bad thing. I look at firing as something that allows people to disassociate with that company or organization and go and find their bliss somewhere else. It's all about finding a good match. And if you're a bad apple in this organization, maybe there's another organization that will be able to contain your energy in a better way. So how the staff deals with volunteers is crucial to the success of the organization and absolutely crucial to your satisfaction and happiness within that organization. Of course, you need to understand the physical and emotional tolls that the tasks involved can take on you. Is it a very physical thing? Like, are you building houses, moving furniture, and moving boxes? Is that something your body is prepared to cope with? If not, it might not be a good match. But if you still have those strong muscles and you're looking for a way to get some exercise and accomplish something good, then it might be a good match. What about the emotional toll? If you work with animals or if you work in palliative care, those are things that are very emotional because sometimes they don't have good endings. And you have to understand whether or not you're emotionally able and resilient enough to deal with it. Are there personal triggers? If you're a cancer survivor and you're dealing with cancer patients, there may be triggers in those kinds of tasks that make you not sleep well at night, that give you the jitters, that make you feel badly when people need support. You may be thinking about your own journey a little bit too much. You need to stay away from personal triggers. So that is another thing that you should look at. The bottom line is that the rights of others end where your nose begins. And it's very important for you to make sure that an organization that's going to take up your time and energy is a good fit so that you come home with a full heart, not a heavy heart. If you come home with a heavy heart, the joy that you thought you would feel by helping or contributing will go away. Bye-bye joy. And that's not a good thing either. As always, advocate for yourself and be prepared to find the right fit, even if it takes a minute. You know, you need to consider the fact that sometimes the cause that you think grabs your heart from the outside won't be the best match when you look at the overall picture. So find the best match for yourself. Take that time. I guarantee you there are lots of opportunities, and you'll be happier in the long run from taking the time to do that analysis. Okay, let's look today at Around the World with the Oldish, the news that is affecting and having to do with senior citizens. Google is getting into the home automation business with seniors in mind. I wondered how long that would take. They have a division called Nest, which some of you may have products for now. They make some of those doorbell ringers that have cameras that are attached to an app on your phone. Well, they're looking at new products to assist aging seniors to remain independent for as long as possible. They're looking at motion sensors to help seniors get to the bathroom in the middle of the night. They're also rumored to be looking at solutions around falls. All of this is in the discussion stage at this point, but stay tuned because Google moves fast. It might be something that'll be on your Christmas list this year, you never know. Canada is worried about having an adequate number of physiotherapists to cope with the number of aging seniors. And if Canada is worried, everybody is, believe me, because the situation around aging seniors is the same with everybody. In 2014, 566,000 seniors in Canada needed physiotherapy services. But that number is expected to be 1.5 million by 2035. So in addition to Canada being worried about having the right number of physios to deal with the aging seniors, you can all tell your children and grandchildren that this is a job field that they might consider if they're looking for a career. There are going to be jobs for them. A senior summit is on the calendar in South Carolina, and the objective of that summit is to let citizens know about services and organizations for aging seniors. They're going to discuss topics like legal conservatorships, guardianships and medical issues, and the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. That's a brilliant idea for anyone looking to empower seniors because most people don't know the services that are in their area. I don't know the services that are in here, in the county where I live. I hear about this and that and the other thing, but I don't really have a good understanding of how they fit together. They are very often funded by multiple government levels and departments within governments, and it's very confusing. So having a summit like this to give you the 411 is really helpful. In China, retailers are being told to pay more attention to the over 60 crowd. They're gaga for luxury brands and travel and upscale services. The fastest growing demographic on WeChat, that's an app, is, you guessed it, seniors, who are using 80% of their smartphone data on this communication app, compared to just 6.8% usage by the 18 to 35 age group. Sounds like a bandwagon retailer should jump on. A survey of the silver generation found that only 8% of consumers felt that marketers targeted them accurately and adequately. Isn't that interesting? You know, I think that that's a problem for North American retailers as well. When you look at television ads, magazine ads are doing a little bit better, but ads on Facebook or the internet in general, they're not really targeting the demographic that is the biggest number and that has the most money to spend. So if you're in China, jump on that. Okay, August 1st, as we mentioned last week's Facebook Live, we're having as our guest Constable Jamie Stanley, and he's a member of the Ontario Provincial Police. So just because he's Ontario Provincial Police does not mean that what he's going to talk about isn't applicable to other people in Canada and other people in other countries. He's going to talk about scams, and particularly scams that are perpetrated on seniors. Plan to join us for that. He's a very interesting guy, and this is part of his portfolio within the police department. And he will be doing that for us. You can log in with your questions, and Constable Jamie will be able to see them and answer them in real time. As always, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. We are all over the place, so please find us there, follow us there. If you don't follow us on Facebook yet, please give us a follow. We would sure appreciate that. We would also appreciate you sharing that follow and our site with your friends. You can read all of our articles on theoldish.com. New articles are posted nearly every day. Join us next Wednesday at 12 noon for our regular weekly Facebook Live, and we will look forward to seeing you then. Until then, please remember that it does indeed take a village to age a senior.